When you picture a desert, what comes to mind? Is it endless heat, shimmering golden sand, and a vast empty space where life seems impossible? That image is powerful, but it's only scratching the surface. Behind that apparent emptiness lies an extraordinary world, filled with astonishing adaptations, deep history, and secrets written into the very rocks and dunes. Deserts aren't dead. They are nature's most effective survival laboratories, where geology and climate reveal stories millions of years old. Every stone, every dune, every dry riverbed tells a story of extreme conditions and the incredible forces that sculpted the landscape. These are places where the sun scorches relentlessly, where nights turn cold and penetrating, and where wind and water, as rare as they are, still shape rock and sand with dramatic precision. In these environments, life has learned to adapt in the most remarkable ways. Scientists are constantly uncovering traces of the past, fossilized remains of ancient seas, and geological layers exposing long-forgotten climate eras. Deserts are more than just territories with a severe lack of water. They're Earth's living archives. Every dune, every salt flat, every oasis holds stories of evolution, survival, and dramatic environmental change. These places teach us that life can find a way in nearly every corner of our planet, and that geology, climate, and biology are inseparable in these extreme landscapes. For millions of years, deserts have formed and disappeared, carving continents, redirecting rivers, and shaping life across the globe. What appears to be lifeless sand and stone is actually alive with history and hidden ecosystems. Every step you take in a desert is a journey through time, a walk through nature's incredible resilience, power, and astonishing creativity. So what actually makes a desert a desert? It's not just the blistering sun or the scorching sand beneath your feet. In reality, a desert is defined by one thing above all: extremely low rainfall, usually less than 10 inches or 250 millimeters per year. It's the absence of water, not the presence of heat, that determines whether an area is a desert. In that sense, a desert is more of a climate than a specific landscape, and its appearance can be surprisingly diverse. Here's a fact that might surprise you. Not every desert is hot. Antarctica, covered in a vast sheet of ice, actually meets the criteria for a desert far better than the Sahara ever will. Its temperatures can plummet below -60 degrees Fahrenheit, and snowfall is so rare that, meteorologically speaking, Antarctica is the largest and driest desert on Earth. Much of the Arctic also qualifies as a desert, where water is locked away as ice and dry winds sweep away any fresh snowfall. So yes, ice deserts are deserts too, just in a form we don't often imagine. Then there are rocky deserts, where stone and gravel dominate the landscape instead of sand. You can find them all across North Africa and the Middle East. In fact, most of the Sahara, despite its iconic dunes, is primarily a rocky desert. Sand covers only about 20% of its surface. Towering cliffs, vast stone plateaus, and dry, winding canyons make up the true face of many of the world's deserts. It's also important to distinguish deserts from semi-deserts. Semi-deserts still receive very little rain, but not quite as little as true deserts. The vegetation is sparse, but it's more noticeable. Grasses, hardy shrubs, and even small trees can survive here, taking full advantage of brief periods of moisture. These regions also host more wildlife species that are adapted to scarcity without having to face the absolute extremes of a true desert. So a desert is fundamentally a space defined by the near-total absence of liquid water, regardless of whether its surface is made of sand, stone, or ice. It is a landscape that shows us how life can endure even where we can barely imagine surviving, a world that constantly challenges our stereotypes and reveals just how diverse Earth's harshest environments can be. Hot deserts are the most iconic type, the ones we see in movies, with rolling dunes, shimmering horizons, and an atmosphere that blurs under a relentless sun. But these regions are far more complex than the images we carry in our minds. Hot deserts span multiple continents, forming where atmospheric circulation and global wind patterns create zones of perpetual dryness. Moist air masses just never reach these regions, and any water that does fall either evaporates almost instantly or sinks deep beneath the sand, out of reach. The largest and most famous hot desert is the Sahara, which covers a massive portion of North Africa. Its vast surface includes not only dunes and sand seas, but also immense rocky plains, rugged mountain ranges, and dry riverbeds that were abandoned by ancient waterways thousands of years ago. The Sahara is so massive it could swallow the entire United States, and its climate is shaped by subtropical high-pressure systems that block moisture from the oceans. But what's truly fascinating is that the Sahara wasn't always a desert. It was once home to lakes, rivers, lush savannas, and thriving wildlife. Even today, scientists continue to uncover fossilized fish and freshwater creatures deep within what is now the dry heart of the desert, a reminder of a greener past. Across the Asian continent sprawls the Gobi, the great desert of Mongolia and northern China. Its climate is dry, but its temperatures are a study in extremes. They can range from a bitter cold in winter, dropping to -22 degrees Fahrenheit, all the way to sweltering heat in summer, over 104 degrees. The Gobi defies the simple stereotype of a hot desert. It's a land defined more by its radical temperature swings. It's also one of the richest paleontological sites on Earth. This is where the first fossilized dinosaur eggs were ever discovered, a find that forever changed our understanding of prehistoric life. Then, on the other side of the world, we have the Atacama Desert in South America, one of the driest places on the entire planet. Some areas here haven't received any measurable rainfall for centuries. The climate is controlled by the icy Humboldt Current offshore, which cools the air and inhibits cloud formation, preventing rain from ever reaching the land. The Atacama is so arid and alien that its landscape is often compared to Mars. In fact, NASA even tests its planetary rovers there. Yet despite its extreme dryness, specialized microorganisms like bacteria and microalgae thrive in its hidden corners, stunning scientists with their ability to survive with almost no water at all. These examples, the Sahara, the Gobi, and the Atacama, show that hot deserts are not just uniform seas of sand. They are complex environmental systems where nature has crafted some of the most extreme and extraordinary habitats on Earth, each with its own unique history and secrets. Now let's journey to the coldest deserts on Earth. Ice deserts are among the most paradoxical landscapes on our planet. Enormous expanses of snow and ice that climatically are some of the driest regions imaginable. It seems counterintuitive, but places like Antarctica and Greenland, blanketed in thick ice sheets, embody the definition of a desert even better than any sandy landscape. Precipitation is minimal, and nearly all the moisture that does appear freezes instantly, becoming part of their vast frigid crust instead of feeding any liquid water systems. Antarctica is by far the world's largest desert. Its endless fields of ice and rock stretch across more than 5.4 million square miles. Though its average temperatures can be colder than a winter night on Mars, its dryness comes from atmospheric circulation and an extreme cold that prevents evaporation and stops clouds from forming. The snow that does fall never melts. Instead, it settles into compressed layers of ice that slowly press outward toward the sea over thousands of years. Greenland, famous for its majestic glaciers and towering icebergs, is also an ice desert. Its climate is severely dry with sparse snowfall. Even though nearly the entire island is covered in ice, liquid water is one of the rarest resources there. Harsh winds, low humidity, and extreme cold cause the snow to sublimate, turning directly from a solid into vapor, which dries the environment out even further. At first glance, ice deserts might appear completely lifeless, but that illusion vanishes as soon as you look closer. Tiny spaces between ice crystals shelter extremophile bacteria, organisms capable of enduring temperatures that would kill most other life forms instantly. And near the coasts, penguins, seals, and seabirds take full advantage of brief annual thaws, when melting ice releases just enough water to support short-lived, vibrant ecosystems. Antarctica and Greenland show us, once again, that a desert isn't defined by heat or sand, but by the near-total absence of liquid water. These frozen deserts reveal how nature pushes biological and geological processes to their absolute limits, and they completely overturn our assumptions about what empty landscapes really are. Finally, let's explore the rocky and stony deserts. These are among the least known, yet harshest types of deserts on Earth. In stark contrast to the romantic vision of sweeping, soft dunes, these deserts are rugged, jagged, and unforgiving. They're built from massive slabs of rock, vast gravel plains, scattered boulders, and parched tectonic formations. In fact, these landscapes dominate many of the regions we stereotypically associate with sand. The Sahara, for instance, is mostly a rocky desert, known as a hamada. Its famous sand seas, the ergs, actually make up only a small fraction of its total area. Rocky deserts form in places where powerful winds and thermal erosion strip away all the finer particles like sand and soil, leaving behind only the larger, heavier fragments of stone. These are landscapes where day and night are in constant conflict. Rocks heat up to extreme levels under the blazing sun, then cool down rapidly after dark. This constant expansion and contraction causes them to crack and crumble over time, creating fields of sharp debris and jagged formations. Every stone, every fracture, is the result of slow but relentless geological and climatic work. These environments might seem barren, but life here is just as tenacious. Plants with deep root systems wedge themselves into rock fissures, searching for trapped moisture. Reptiles and insects have evolved to blend in perfectly with the stony ground, using the rocks for camouflage and shelter from the extreme temperatures. From the frozen plains of Antarctica to the rocky plateaus of the Sahara, deserts are so much more than empty spaces. They are dynamic, diverse, and filled with life that has mastered the art of survival. They are a testament to the resilience of nature and hold the keys to understanding our planet's past and future. When you picture a desert, what do you see? Probably endless sand dunes, right? But that's just one chapter in a much bigger story. Most deserts aren't sandy at all. Take stony deserts, for instance. They're vast plains covered in gravel and rocks, looking lifeless at first glance. But these places are masters of patience. Rainfall is almost unheard of, but when it finally arrives, the ground explodes with life. Seeds that have been dormant for years sprout and bloom in a matter of days, creating a breathtaking temporary paradise that vanishes as quickly as it came. Then you have plateau deserts, massive, elevated rock platforms that rise above the landscape. These are some of the most challenging environments on Earth. Not only is water scarce, but so is shade. The sun beats down with incredible intensity, and winds sweep across the high plains without mercy. But these plateaus are also like history books. Each layer of rock tells a story, a geological chronicle stretching back millions of years, exposing some of our planet's oldest chapters. But perhaps the most surreal desert landscapes are the salt deserts. These form where ancient lakes evaporated, leaving behind glistening white fields of pure mineral deposits. The most famous is Bolivia's Salar de Uyuni, the world's largest salt flat. It's so perfectly flat that it's used to calibrate satellites. And during the rainy season, it transforms into the world's largest mirror, reflecting the sky in a way that feels completely otherworldly. These places aren't just beautiful. They're also strategically vital. They hold vast deposits of minerals like lithium, the key ingredient in the batteries that power our phones and electric cars. So we have stony deserts, plateau deserts, and salt deserts. But there's another major category, tropical and subtropical deserts. Here, it's not just about temperature. It's about global air patterns. Huge atmospheric currents push dry air downwards, stopping clouds from forming and blocking rain. Days can be scorching hot, but nights can get surprisingly cold, with temperature swings of dozens of degrees in a single day. The plants and animals here are true survival experts. Plants grow thick, water-storing leaves or send roots deep underground. Many animals are nocturnal, coming out only at night to avoid the brutal daytime heat. They've evolved incredible ways to conserve every last drop of water. From the otherworldly salt flats to the biological marvels of the tropics, each desert type reveals just how diverse these environments can be. They teach us that a desert is far more than just a place without water. So what actually makes a desert? The most basic rule is simple. Over long periods, more water must be lost through evaporation than gained through rainfall. Even when it does rain, the environment just can't hold on to the moisture. The biggest reason for this is our planet's atmospheric circulation. Near the equator, hot, moist air rises, cools, and drops heavy rain, which is why rainforests are there. But that same air, now dry, travels north and south and sinks back down around 30 degrees latitude. As it descends, it warms up and prevents clouds from forming. This is why many of the world's great deserts, the Sahara, the Arabian, the Kalahari, are located in these zones. But latitude isn't the whole story. Cold ocean currents play a huge role too. When cold water flows along a coast, it chills the air above it. Cold air can't hold much moisture, so clouds don't form. This creates a strange paradox, a desert right next to the ocean. The most extreme example is the Atacama Desert in South America, where some parts haven't seen rain for centuries. Another major factor is the rain shadow effect. When moist air from the ocean hits a mountain range, it's forced upwards. It cools, and all its moisture falls as rain on one side of the mountains. By the time the air gets over the mountains and descends on the other side, it's completely dry. The result? One side is lush and green, while the other is a barren desert. This is how the Gobi Desert was formed, locked in the rain shadow of the mighty Himalayas. Even geology plays a part. Continents drift over millions of years, changing climate zones. Places that are humid jungles today might have been deserts in the distant past. Believe it or not, large parts of the Sahara were once green, with rivers and lakes teeming with life. And deserts can even form through cooling. Polar deserts, like Antarctica, are the coldest places on Earth, but they are also the driest. There's almost no precipitation, making these icy landscapes true deserts in every scientific sense. The story of how deserts are made is a complex tale of atmosphere, oceans, mountains, and continental drift. A desert isn't an empty void. It's a landscape with a deep history, written over millions of years. Now let's get back to that classic image. Sand. Sand itself is the result of millions of years of erosion. Rocks are broken down grain by wind, water, and extreme temperature changes. Those tiny grains, usually quartz, are then picked up by the wind and sculpted into incredible shapes. We see everything from tiny ripples to massive dunes, the height of skyscrapers. These dunes are constantly moving. They are alive. They migrate across the desert, swallowing roads and burying entire villages. Depending on the wind, they form different patterns. Crescent-shaped Barchan dunes that crawl like waves, or giant star dunes that form where winds blow from multiple directions. But it's the rock formations that truly showcase the raw power of desert erosion. Mesas, buttes, canyons, and natural arches are all carved by forces that are more aggressive here than almost anywhere else. The huge temperature swings between day and night crack rocks open. Wind blasts them with sand, acting like a natural sandblaster. And when rain does come, it's often in violent, short bursts that can carve deep channels in an instant. This is how iconic landscapes like the Grand Canyon were formed. Finally, what about oases? Those green islands of life in a sea of dryness seem like miracles, but they have a perfectly logical, geological explanation. Deep beneath many deserts lie vast underground water reserves, aquifers. These are essentially water memories, leftovers from ancient rivers and lakes that existed thousands or even millions of years ago, back when the climate was much wetter. So an oasis isn't a random miracle. It's a window into the past, a direct link to a time when the desert was a very different place. From shifting sands to ancient waters, deserts are dynamic, complex, and full of stories. They aren't empty spaces, but living museums of our planet's history, showcasing the incredible power of nature to sculpt and reshape the world over vast spans of time. When you think of a desert, what comes to mind? An endless sea of sand? A barren, lifeless wasteland? Wow. What if I told you that deserts are actually some of the most dynamic and fascinating ecosystems on Earth? They are living geological laboratories and showcases of biological perfection, telling the story of our planet in a way no other landscape can. Let's start with the very ground beneath our feet. A single grain of sand you pick up might be a piece of a mountain that stood hundreds of millions of years ago. Unlike forests or plains where life covers the Earth, deserts lay it bare. The plateaus and canyon walls expose geological layers like an open book. Each distinct stripe of rock represents a different chapter in Earth's history, a former climate, a lost ocean, or a forgotten desert landscape. This is why scientists treasure deserts. They are natural archives, letting us read the planet's past straight from the stone, without vegetation or human activity getting in the way. It's a slow, harsh, but astonishingly precise record of millions of years of climate change and continental drift. But the story isn't just in the rocks. It's in the life that clings to them. Desert flora is a masterclass in survival. Plants that thrive where rain is almost a myth have developed incredible ways to find, store, and conserve water. The most famous are the succulents. These plants store water in their fleshy stems, leaves, or roots, allowing them to endure months or even years of drought without a single drop of rain. Think of the iconic cactus, the symbol of American deserts. Its thick, waxy stem is a living water tank, while its spines do double duty. They aren't just for protection against hungry animals. They also drastically reduce water loss through evaporation. To catch every precious drop, cacti often grow shallow, wide-spreading root systems that can soak up water from even the briefest, most sporadic downpours. Over in Africa and the Middle East, the acacia tree dominates the landscape. It might look unassuming, but its survival strategy is just as brilliant. Acacias have incredibly long taproots that tunnel deep into the earth, sometimes for dozens of meters, searching for hidden groundwater sources. Their leaves are tiny, often transformed into spines, which again minimizes water loss. Some acacia species can even store water in their trunks and branches, helping them power through years-long droughts. So how exactly do these plants pull it off? It comes down to a few key strategies working in perfect harmony. First, those spiny leaves. By replacing broad leaves with sharp spines, plants like cacti and acacias reduce their surface area to almost zero, which stops precious water from evaporating away in the intense sun. Spines also help collect morning dew, funneling tiny droplets of moisture back to the plant. Next is the waxy coating. If you've ever touched a succulent, you might have noticed its glossy, smooth surface. This waxy layer acts like a natural mirror, reflecting harsh sunlight to keep the plant from overheating. More importantly, it creates a waterproof seal, trapping moisture inside the plant's tissues. It's like wearing a custom-made, all-weather jacket, and then there are the roots. Desert plants generally have one of two types. Shallow, wide networks are perfect for quickly absorbing water from surface-level rain. Deep, vertical taproots are for long-term survival, reaching down to underground water tables. Some plants, like certain cacti, cleverly use both shallow roots for quick drinks and a deep root for stability during the driest times. These three mechanisms, spines, wax, and specialized roots, create a nearly foolproof survival system. But the most magical moment in the desert is when all these adaptations pay off. It's a phenomenon known as the desert bloom. For months, sometimes years, the landscape can appear completely barren. Seeds lie dormant under the sand, waiting. Then, after a rare, intense rainfall, something incredible happens. Within days, the desert explodes into life. The ground, once dry and cracked, is suddenly covered in a vibrant carpet of wildflowers. This spectacle, which may only last a few weeks, is the very foundation of desert life. The bloom is a signal. It attracts insects, which pollinate the flowers and become the first link in a revitalized food chain. Soon, birds, small mammals, and reptiles arrive to feast on the insects and fresh vegetation. During this brief window of abundance, the entire ecosystem comes alive. Plants reproduce, animals thrive, and the desert prepares itself for the next long, dry spell. For thousands of years, humans have also relied on these remarkable plants. Desert cultures have used cacti and succulents for water and food, their leaves and roots for medicine, and their wood for building shelters. These plants weren't just a source of physical survival. They became central to cultural and spiritual life. The story of survival continues with the desert's animal inhabitants. These creatures are true experts in living where temperatures can swing wildly from scorching hot days to freezing nights. Let's start with the mammals. You have tiny masters of adaptation like the fennec fox from the Sahara. Its enormous ears aren't just for hearing. They act like natural radiators, dissipating heat to keep its body cool. Its pale fur reflects sunlight, and by being active only at night, it avoids the worst of the daytime heat. Then there are the jerboas, small rodents that hop around like miniature kangaroos. This method of movement allows them to travel quickly across the hot sand while conserving precious energy. And of course, there's the camel, the ultimate icon of desert survival. Camels don't just store water in their humps, that's mostly fat. Their entire metabolism is designed to conserve water, allowing them to go for weeks without drinking. They can also tolerate huge swings in body temperature, something that would be fatal for most other mammals. Desert birds are just as impressive. Species like the desert lark can get by on minimal water, often getting all the moisture they need from their food. Many have developed clever ways to regulate their temperature, like lifting their wings to catch a breeze or seeking shade in rock formations. Some vultures use thermal updrafts to glide effortlessly for miles, searching for food without wasting energy. The true masters of energy and water conservation, however, are the reptiles. Snakes, lizards, and geckos spend the hottest parts of the day hidden under rocks or buried in the cool sand. Their metabolism is incredibly efficient. They lose very little water through their skin and can extract every last drop of moisture from their food. Some lizards even have a built-in water collection system. They can gather morning dew on their backs and channel it directly to their mouths through tiny grooves in their scales. Even the insects are survival specialists. Desert ants march across scorching sand to find food, while termites build complex mounds with natural air conditioning that maintains a stable temperature and humidity inside. Scorpions can enter a state of near-total metabolic shutdown, waiting patiently for the slightest hint of moisture to spring back to life. A common thread among all these animals is a nocturnal lifestyle. By being active at night, they avoid the brutal daytime heat. Camouflage is also key. The sandy coloration of most desert animals helps them blend in, hiding from predators and avoiding the sun's direct rays. So the next time you see a picture of a desert, remember that it's anything but empty. It is a world pulsating with hidden life, a library of Earth's ancient history, and a stunning display of evolution at its most creative. It is a testament to the power of adaptation and the incredible resilience of life in the harshest of places. Deserts. Harsh, extreme, seemingly lifeless. Yet for thousands of years, these vast, sun-scorched landscapes have been home to people who didn't just survive, but thrived, building complex societies and vibrant cultures. How did they do it? Let's uncover the secrets of life in the world's most challenging environments. Take the traditional nomadic communities, like the Bedouins of Arabia or the Tuareg of the Sahara. They are masterclasses in human adaptation. In a land where water and food are scattered across immense distances, staying still was not an option. Constant movement was the key to survival. And the most precious element in this survival game was, and still is, water. These communities possessed an intimate knowledge of their surroundings, memorizing the locations of natural springs, hidden oases, and underground aquifers. Water was guarded like the most valuable treasure, not just for people, but for their livestock. Camels, the iconic ships of the desert, were the foundation of their nomadic life, providing transportation and carrying essential supplies. Water was even extracted from hardy desert plants like cacti and palms. Stored in leather bags to last through weeks of grueling travel, food was another puzzle to solve. Traditional desert societies brilliantly combined herding with hunting and gathering. Herds of camels, goats, and sheep provided a steady supply of meat, milk, and hides. This was supplemented with wild plants, seeds, and roots foraged from the arid landscape. They even learned to use the extreme climate to their advantage, preserving food by drying meat and fruit in the intense sun, ensuring they had provisions during lean times when the desert offered little. And what about shelter? Forget permanent structures. The Bedouins and Tuareg perfected the portable home, lightweight tents woven from camel or goat wool. These ingenious structures provided cool shade during the scorching day and surprising warmth on cold desert nights. Their design allowed for ventilation, resisted powerful winds, and could be packed up and moved in an instant, perfectly suited for a life on the go. Every single aspect of nomadic life was a testament to brilliant design. Their flowing clothing protected them from the sun while allowing air to circulate, and their social systems were built on cooperation and efficient use of scarce resources. But the story of desert peoples isn't just about survival. It's also about connection. For millennia, caravans were the lifeblood of the desert economy and culture. Convoys of camels and people trekked for hundreds, even thousands of kilometers, connecting distant oases and bustling cities. These routes were highways for trade, carrying salt, spices, gold, and silk, and in doing so, they facilitated the exchange of ideas, technologies, and cultures between vastly different societies. The desert nomads became unparalleled masters of navigation, reading the stars, the winds, and the subtle shifts in the terrain. This knowledge wasn't just a skill. It was the difference between life and death. Today, modernity brings new challenges. The rise of desert tourism, while bringing economic benefits, also puts a strain on fragile ecosystems. The extraction of oil, salt, and minerals can destroy traditional lands and disrupt vital water sources. But in response, new conservation programs are emerging, blending ancient traditional knowledge with modern science to manage and protect these unique environments. The people of the desert stand as a powerful testament to human resilience and adaptability. Their lives show us that it is possible to coexist with even the harshest of environments. When we think of deserts, we often picture empty, barren wastelands. But these landscapes are anything but empty. They are dynamic, powerful ecosystems that play a crucial role in the health of our entire planet. They act as massive climate regulators, influence the global water cycle, and hold vast reserves of valuable resources. A desert is a complex web of rock, sand, plants, animals, and people, all working together in a delicate balance. One of the biggest roles deserts play is in regulating climate. Their vast, reflective surfaces, a quality known as high albedo, bounce a significant amount of solar energy back into the atmosphere. This affects air temperature and drives the circulation of air masses on a massive scale. Huge deserts like the Sahara generate masses of hot air that rise and shape wind and pressure systems across entire continents. And have you ever heard of desert dust traveling the globe? Plumes of fine mineral dust are lifted from deserts and carried for thousands of kilometers. This dust influences weather patterns and air quality far from its source. It even acts as a natural fertilizer, delivering essential nutrients to rainforests and oceans, proving just how interconnected our planet's systems truly are. Deserts are also key players in the cycles of water and wind. Rain may be rare, but when it does fall, desert soils can store precious moisture. The uniquely adapted plants and animals then draw on this water, weaving it into a biological cycle that sustains the entire ecosystem. The strong winds that characterize deserts are powerful sculptors, constantly reshaping the landscape, forming majestic dunes, and carrying microelements that enrich distant soils. Beyond their ecological importance, deserts are natural treasure chests. Over millions of years, erosion and geological processes have concentrated valuable minerals like salt, copper, gold, uranium, and even rare earth elements. Desert sand itself is a raw material for industries like glass and construction. In this way, deserts hold immense potential for both scientific discovery and economic development. However, these incredible ecosystems are also incredibly fragile. Human activities like overgrazing, intensive agriculture, and industrial development can lead to a devastating process called desertification. When the native vegetation that holds the sand in place disappears, the soil degrades, dunes begin to move, and biodiversity is lost. Scientists are sounding the alarm in regions from the Sahara to China, warning that the degradation of these landscapes could have serious global consequences for our climate, soil health, and water security. So deserts are far more than just dead sands. They are active living systems that regulate our climate, support unique life, and store natural wealth. Understanding their function is vital, not just for protecting the communities and wildlife that call them home, but for maintaining the delicate balance of our entire planet. Beyond their scientific importance, deserts are places of magic and wonder, filled with phenomena that can feel otherworldly. Every element, from a single grain of sand to a towering rock formation, can create a spectacle that stays with you forever. Have you ever imagined sand that glows in the dark? In some deserts, like the Atacama in Chile, the sand is rich with tiny quartz crystals and other minerals. During a full moon, this sand can reflect the moonlight, creating a breathtaking shimmer. The desert floor transforms into a sea of silver and gold ripples, a beautiful effect that also tells a story about the region's geological past. Then there are the famous moving stones of Death Valley. For years, people were mystified by these large rocks that seemed to slide across the flat, dry lake bed, leaving long trails behind them. It turns out it's not magic, but a rare combination of nature's forces. A thin layer of ice forms on the desert floor, which then melts, creating a slippery surface. Strong winds then push the rocks, allowing them to sail across the mud. It's a perfect example of how nature creates motion and dynamism in the most unexpected places. Of course, not all desert phenomena are so serene. Sandstorms, or haboobs, are among the most spectacular and dangerous events. These are not just little dust devils. They are towering walls of sand that can rise kilometers into the air and travel for hundreds of kilometers. Within hours, they can completely reshape the landscape, bury roads and oases, and reduce visibility to near zero. And no trip to the desert is complete without experiencing a mirage. This classic desert illusion is an optical phenomenon caused by the extreme difference in air temperature between the hot ground and the cooler air above it. This bends the light, making distant objects, like a far-off oasis, appear to float in the air. It can even create the illusion of a shimmering lake where there is only dry sand. For ancient travelers, mirages were a source of both wonder and deadly deception, a test of their experience and intuition. Deserts are not empty voids. They are worlds teeming with life, incredible adaptation, and extraordinary natural beauty. Every grain of sand, every hardy plant, and every resilient animal tells a story of survival against the odds. For thousands of years, humans have looked to these landscapes and learned profound lessons about living in harmony with nature. In the desert, harshness becomes beauty, and endurance is elevated to an art form. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this journey into the desert as fascinating as I did, don't forget to like this video.